with some like gentle exercise to help with the circulation, the main purpose lah, huh? To start with the toes first, so you can do toe wiggling. Yeah, of course the ankle you cannot move much lah. So you can do some exercises in the bed. Yes, like what we call leg raises. So you tighten your thigh muscle, then you try to, yes, do leg raises. And then kick straight. Yes, 1. Then and kick. 2. Good. And close. 1. 2. Yes, control, huh? 3. Bend down. Then lift up. Straighten your knee. Yes, 1. Control. 2. Very good. Open to the side. Then close. This one in sitting also you can do lah. 2. You bring the crutches forward, small step, okay? Then push on the arm, then right leg. Yeah.